Inaction, 3rd of October 2025. We are more aware of and account for the costs of commission in our lives as the things we do and the results of doing so, much more so than the costs of omission in our lives as the results of the things we don't do. We account for the costs of our actions, but rarely our inactions. Hearing this as a topic on Chris Williamson's Modern Wisdom podcast, episode 999, it rings true to me and how it applies to my own life, yesterday being an example. At the shop buying myself a new hoodie, I noticed, or at least think I noticed, a temporary tattoo on the shop employee's forearm as she was checking out the hoodie I was buying. I've been looking online at temporary tattoos, thinking of and likely to get a few to try out before committing to a real permanent tattoo. I noticed her temporary tattoo and thought about asking her if it was one, and about if they're good or not if she likes them, if it was one. I hesitated to ask about it and thought to myself I don't need to anyways, so I didn't. It's no big deal anyways, but I do regret my own inaction of not asking because of my lingering curiosity. Why though? As in, why didn't I actually just ask? Such a simple thing to be curious about. Separate from me or attraction. That's a long drawn out and proper autistic way of saying no intentions of trying to pull. So it's not to do with that sort of thing, at least on a surface level, beknownst to me. She was kind of like. What's curious is, why did I not think to bother as the thing to question? What's the psychology behind my own choice of inaction for my curiosity in such a context? The thing of impression and involvement comes back to mind, choosing not to get involved in a sense and just keep to myself. Contextually to this situation, I wasn't necessarily being impressed upon, as if she was inserting involvement in a sense. However, arguably, I was with my own perception of something impacting my mind and curiosity. I think behind what I did, as for the psychology of it, it was some type of defense mechanism. Why did I not ask if there was no or perceivably no potential possibilities of a negative/detrimental response?
Proper autistic.
Saving myself mechanistically, but from what? I think I'm quite a curious person, curious to question and understand or know things, but why did I deny myself that curiosity in a public context? How much do I deny that of myself, of a public curiosity? Why? What's the reason for that? Had a guess, probably being shut down or shunned in some type of way a lot throughout my life for it, just being told to do and not question why. Or when I was curious about something that was abstract or unknown, it was somehow offensive, probably subconsciously to others' egos, as for what they know or think they know, and that at risk for themselves, with my curiosity as an attack by proxy.
Proper autistic.
Bit of a fucking stretch, but hey, potentially so, but I do not know for sure. That guess of a reasoning for my own defense mechanism being an attack by proxy to others brings a new perspective to the rap lyric I've written about before. If I can change the world with my words, then why the fuck am I biting my tongue? Cadet, 100 phone calls. Previously having written about the potential good my words and the power of questioning could do, to that in contrast or a different perspective, what it could do negatively to someone's ego and identity, as for what they know and understand in a sense. My curiosity about some deeper shit in a public context may threaten other people's understandings of themselves in a sense. If what in question contests a present belief or something, it is a part of someone's identity in a sense, and that part of themselves may be damaged or have to die if what they think they know is upended. Do I deny myself the public expression of such curiosity because others see me doing so as a subconscious threat to themselves? Contextually with the larger reality type shit for the most part anyways. To what degrees may I be doing so, protecting them so to speak, or protecting myself as the returning fire from it? Higher degrees of curiosity is perceived as threatening to the obstinate, stubborn to change opinions/pig-headed or just closed-minded. Why continue to do so? Why continue to do so, as in why continue to give a fuck about not offending with greater degrees of curiosity if it's entirely on them to see it as such an offence, knowingly or not to themselves, to which if they do get defensive, it's a marker of being closed-minded to me of them, as people I don't or wouldn't want to be involved with anyways. I do understand a reason to withhold such curiosity from public scrutiny, being not having to deal with the hassle of a conflict or as such. Is it that unventured questions are seen as problems to the closed-minded? To challenge other people's well-being with no intention to do so, just because of an intellectual or existential curiosity? Seems a bit contextually wrong to each other, asymmetrically in a sense. Curiosity, when sufficiently greater, is met with hostility from the closed-minded. I know all this has stemmed from such a simple curiosity about a temporary tattoo, which isn't anywhere near such a degree of curiosity that could be subconsciously perceived as threatening. To go from such a simple thought of a simple thing, to a deep dive into my own and other people's psychology and perceptions for how and why the ways we are and the navigation of it. That shit's funny to me. What's next? The behavioural science that's scratching my fucking nuts? Anyways, regardless of the context, why bother to withhold my deeper curiosity? I'm not being disrespectful, people are choosing to be offended. Even if that's just subconsciously unbeknownst to themselves. Impression and involvement. Involve my curiosity more so in my life. Not doing so is or would continue to be a quiet erosion of a habitual omissive inaction. Be bolder. Fuck whatever social dynamics relative to deeper context as such being affected. To be such an inquisitive person, I'm only doing myself a disservice with public restraint of my own character if I'm seen as something that isn't what I am or seen as closer to my own perception of myself as I could be. Regardless or even for the sake of polarity with the good and the bad. A greater self-respect would be achieved at least. I don't know if I think I'm smart or stupid. My social skills and conversational ability feels like it's lesser than most, therefore I feel stupid, whereas at the same time, in the same thoughts or feelings of questioning that, I question my intellectual capacity as greater than the mean because of my brain not socially functioning well enough with my brain power going to more intellectual shit to ponder about, whilst also not giving a fuck about or having very little interest in regular conversation. Probably both. I'm a retard with an exceptional curiosity for existentialism. Does my lack of social dexterity hide my intelligence? Am I just perceived as stupid? Or am I just stupid? Am I just smart in my own ways that are for the most part unrecognisable in a general sense? I think I'm pretty good at coming up with ideas and creating them, problem solving with them in a way, making things better, cooler, to myself at least, more efficient, etc. I think this is also another aspect to lean into with boldness, which I'd become more outwardly authentic. Doing so by having my intellectual ability outwork exceptionally my lesser social dexterity, so that it isn't a factor or as much of one hindering the perception of me being a dumb fuck. To outsmart my external doubt, heavily index on becoming smarter and proving it in X ways so that the social dexterity, lacking thereof, is outweighed. This isn't to say not to improve on that as well, but more so to lean into my own strengths. Avoid the inaction of not enacting my potential, whether it's about some simple shit or mind-bending shit that might be uncomfortable for the close-minded to think about. Be more outwardly curious.
Proper autistic.